Hi guys. So welcome to the Fearless Energy Update for the week of November 8th, which is today. We're going all the way to Saturday, November 14th. Lots of stuff going on this week. We have the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that's already started. It's already, Jupiter and Pluto are already at 22 degrees. It'll be exact conjunct on really late the 13th. I'm sorry, the 12th. There's a lot going on this week, you guys. Mars goes direct in Aries. It has been retrograde for the last 6 weeks. And Mercury moves back into Scorpio. So it finally gets away from its square from Saturn. Just real quick before we get into the energy day to day, remember that on my memberships you get a daily energy update, and I'm also going to be doing a Jupiter and Pluto conjunction video to kind of like break down for each individual house. And so depending on what your rising sign, what Jupiter and Pluto are, what you can expect from that transit on a more personal level. So settle in, get yourself comfortable. We have a lot of stuff going on this week that has to do with spirituality. The sun is also going to be trining Neptune this week as well. So there's this really big expansive energy when it comes to how you're transforming in a really spiritual and personal way. And I also think, like that Mercury square Saturn that we went through, I mean, that really defined the entire US election, that we went through last week. So, because long-term, doing things the right way and really making sure that we're taking the time and the opportunity to do things the right way produces long-term results when Mercury is square Saturn. So, we are under a Leo moon today. And the celebration sort of continues. I think that everybody is in the US is sort of feeling like, can we get back to normal now a little bit? Sunday's usually that day where football is on TV all day long. And so today's a really good opportunity for you to just settle in, and allow yourself to process everything that happened last week. The moon is trining Mars and it's squaring the sun and it's in conjunct Neptune right now. So the emotional spirituality and just sort of like the general wanting to feel really, really good right now is kind of at play. And the exhaustion. Like I can tell that a lot of people are completely exhausted from everything that happened last week. I did see some pretty sad news that Alex Trebek lost his battle with cancer, pancreatic cancer. He was 80 years old. So I remember sitting with my mom when I was younger and we would watch, and I was just fascinated that she would know the answers to Jeopardy. And then as I got older and I would watch it with, on my own, I'd be like, oh, okay. So it comes with life. That's cool. But Alex Trebek kind of like shaped everybody's lives in some way. And we would like, Jeopardy would just be on in the background, and so that's a loss. That's a 2020 loss that's going to go in the books. Tomorrow, Monday, the 9th of November, we have the moon in Virgo, trining Uranus, and Venus opposite Mars. The moon trining Uranus is really a feeling like as the moon shifts into Virgo, we sort of just like want to start getting busy. Virgo is the organizer. Virgo is the perfectionist, so they say. But Virgo can be very procrastination energy as well. Tomorrow, make a plan. Make a plan for the week tomorrow, especially with the overlying energies that we have sort of like floating over us with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. Like that's a long-term energy. We're going to feel these effects for probably 2 to 3 weeks and really get the benefits of Jupiter conjunct Pluto for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Jupiter conjunct Pluto in Capricorn is really about expanding and changing and shifting our perspectives when it comes to structure. And, it's going to be different for everybody. Like, what does Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn mean specifically for you? Like, I'm a Libra rising, and it's happening in my 4th house. And so the expansion of house, the expansion of family, the expansion of what makes me feel safe and comfortable, and the things that I have to transition through that, and the way that I have to create my own path through regenerating, through evolution, and all of that stuff. That's an energy that we're going to be feeling all week, not just the day of the conjunction, and even into next week. And we were feeling it last week. There's a whole new change and restructuring. We went from a Republican president to a Democratic president night and day. Like, there was a huge change and transformation of power that happened, and Jupiter conjunct Pluto is a transformation of power. So that's going to be an overall theme that we're all dealing with for the next couple of weeks, and it's a positive aspect. It's something that can bring a lot of luck and a lot of abundance and prosperity too. So Monday's going to be a really good day for us to start the plan, right? Moon in Virgo, trine Uranus, and we're going to be really wanting to, it's like, okay, where do we start? Where do we start diving in, and where do we start making these changes? Because what's Uranus? Uranus is also about evolution. It's about innovation. It's, in Taurus right now. So there's a lot of structural changes that are happening with Uranus and Taurus, and the moon is just coming along and sort of triggering that. Venus is going to be opposite Mars on Monday as well. So there's this anticipation. Mars is still retrograde tomorrow, but there's an anticipatory energy that we're coming into. Really healthy connections that we have will have a tendency to thrive with a Venus opposite Mars, and really toxic relationships that we have and connections that we have will be very, very clear. The red flags, like, you won't have to look too hard to find the red flag in relationships. With the Venus opposite Mars, the toxic connections will reach a boiling point this week, because you're going to recognize when you're trying to change and transform, and if somebody else doesn't really like that about you, or somebody else just has an opinion, or they feel a certain way because you're not the same person that you were, evolution at its finest. And when people realize that you aren't the same person that you were in the past, it's like, oh wow, so now I get to treat you like crap, and you get this opportunity to say, oh no, you don't get to treat me like crap. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to deal with this. This is not something that's good for me. So Monday is going to sort of be like those moments where you're like, how is it that I want my future to look? How do I want to come out abundant and prosper in all of this energy? Like, where do I want to grow and evolve, and who and what is holding me back? And tomorrow with that Venus opposite Mars is really going to show you, because it's going to be a releasing of really heavy tensions. There could be arguments. You could very well be getting into arguments with that moon trining Uranus. But the best thing to do with the Venus opposite Mars is to release expectations in a healthy way, release those tensions in a healthy way, whether it's through like physical exertion, doing physical activities, get really creative with your projects, allow yourself to dive deep into the things that make you feel really good, and let yourself release the things that are frustrating for you right now. And if that means that you have to, go to work all day long and sit in that tension and recognize what that tension is, and then you get home and you're like, oh my God, that tension is just at a boiling point, and you just sort of like, however you do the releasing, right? For me, it's about the cry. Like, I like to ugly cry, because that's the quickest and easiest way for me to transmute energy. So when I'm feeling something negative, when I'm triggered by something like that, I don't stop myself from having the ugly cry if needed. But it's different for everybody. So however you have, sometimes I go for a run, or I go for a walk if the weather is nice. That's a good way to release extra tension as well. So just allow yourself, because this whole week is going to be like the build-up, the anticipatory build-up to we're like, oh my gosh, something big is coming. Something really big feels like it's going to be happening. And it's absolutely true. Yes, something big has already happened, but as we're moving, you know, something big is happening within ourselves too. It's a very intimate change and transition that we're all going through right now that's going to show in a collective way after the change and transformation happens within ourselves first. So then we hit Tuesday the 10th, Mercury moves back into Scorpio. So that's going to be a really big day, a really big time. So Mercury's going to be in Scorpio for 3 weeks. So it'll be like the end of November. I think it actually I mean, it's going to go really, really fast. Mercury is actually a pretty quick, that's why it's Quicksilver, right? Mercury's a pretty quick mover. So I think it's the last week in November it moves into Sagittarius, or the first week in December. Let me find that out really quick before I tell you guys the wrong thing. I do this on my videos all the time for the memberships. Oh, December 1st. Okay, I was close. So it'll be in Mercury until December 1st, and then it moves into Mercury will be in Scorpio until December 1st, and then it moves into Sagittarius. So, but while Mercury is in Scorpio, I don't know if you guys remember having Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So all of those lessons that you learned during the Mercury retrograde that went from Scorpio to Libra and then direct in Libra, they may come back. They may show you or even ask you and be like, did you really learn the lesson? Or are we going to have to go through this again? I've recognized one thing about myself during Scorpio season is that I have like cultivated some bad habits again, and like some old patterns that I used to have in my life. And it's just like I got into a comfort zone and I started, I just brought back some bad habits, and I'm like, man, Scorpio season, sheesh. And a lot of it happened during Mercury retrograde. So the lessons that I'm being taught right now are very apparent to me. So I sort of want you to kind of like get to that place where you can look back at where Mercury retrograde showed you how things needed to shift, how things need to change, and maybe how you did possibly bring in bad habits, and you know, how you can kind of like redirect yourself and break those patterns again. The sun is trining Neptune on Tuesday, and this is really an energy, this is going to be an energy of really coming together for the common good and allowing the transformations to happen. The sun trining Neptune is a very spiritual journey, and the sun is our higher self, right? So there's just a general feeling of well-being when the sun is trining Neptune. Some of it can be very illusion based. Some of it can be something that, you know, we feel like we're sort of creating in our minds, especially because we also have this really interesting Neptune squaring the nodes right now. So Neptune is at 18 degrees and the nodes are at 20 degrees. And so until like February 2021, Neptune is going to be squaring the nodes. So we're all sort of under a veil of illusion anyways. And, you know, what kind of information are you going to believe? Are you going to get really lost in the hype of some of the things that we're bringing on that are changing in the world right now? Are you going to start believing in some of the theories that other people have? I'm not going to call them conspiracy theories, because I think the whole premise behind conspiracy theory was to just make people think that they were crazy for thinking something different. So I don't like to use that word, but really allowing yourself to base all of your opinions on what's resonating with you, and not necessarily following, because it could be easy to follow the South Node right now that's in Sagittarius, because, you know, it's like Sagittarius wants to believe. Sagittarius is Jupiter, right? So it's like it just wants to believe and it wants to expand. And Neptune squaring that South Node is sort of puts us into an illusionary state of mind and makes us want to believe everything without concrete facts. So really look at the stuff that is, and I mean, if you look at how the election went, I mean, like that statement that I just made, wants to believe things without concrete facts. We all know who that's affecting right now. and his north node is in Gemini and his south node is in Sagittarius, and so Neptune is squaring his north node and south node in Sagittarius right now. Okay, so and whether it's like at the same degree or not, like I haven't looked at Trump's chart by any means, but the way that he's acting, where he thinks that everything was done wrong to him, like, yes, I know that's not surprising to a lot of people, but the astrology is really showing why he is acting this way. So if people don't believe that astrology is real, the illusion that he is going through right now is very real to him, right? It's very real to him. So we also have, so this is also a transit. The Sun trining Neptune is also a transit that's really going to help the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction for all of us, because this can help us achieve our personal spiritual goals. This can help us really become creative and start new things. And like, there's no coincidence. I didn't even look at the transits before I made the class on the 14th, but there's no coincidence that I made the Manifesting 101, Manifesting Your Life workshop and satsang on Saturday, November 14th, because everything this week points to creating a whole new life for yourself and creating it based on what resonates with you in a very spiritual way and learning how to embody that whole emotion. So there's still opportunity to sign up for that too. If you guys are really interested, this is going to be a great week to learn how to manifest stuff. So hopefully you take that opportunity. All of that information is in the description box, by the way. But yeah, so the moon is also in Virgo, keeping all of us a little bit on the ground so we don't fly too high with the Sun trining Neptune. The Virgo moon is going to be trining Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. And that really does just kind of bring us sort of back to reality. Virgos are, you know, I know that some people think that Virgos are delusional, but, you know, we mean well. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, but we mean well. So, but yeah, that Virgo moon trining Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn sort of brings us back to reality after a whole day of feeling like we're in the clouds and feeling like we could do really anything. Tuesday is going to be a pretty fun day, I think. Mercury in Scorpio is super investigative though, so you might find yourself questioning everything. You may find yourself really being like, you know, I don't know if I can trust things right now with that Sun trining Neptune also. It's like you may be really privy to the fact that there's an illusion that's happening right now, and you might be questioning everything, and that's also perfectly okay. Like, if you don't feel the heightened awareness, and if you don't feel the joy and the overall good feeling of that Sun trining Neptune, it could be because you're one of those people that really connects with that Scorpio and Mercury energy, and you need to know all the facts, especially with the moon in Virgo. You need to know all the facts. You need to know where we're going, and having that idealistic, which is what the Sun trine Neptune will do to us. It'll make us really idealistic. That's going to be kind of a moment for all of us to like take a step back and be like, is this real? Is this not real? I don't really know. So then we move into Wednesday, which is 11/11. It is very on brand for us to have a moon in Libra on 11/11/2020. Because there's Wednesday, I feel like before we even get even further into the energy for the rest of the week, Wednesday's sort of that like midday balance that we're all like, oh my God, the chaos, like what's happening in the world right now? Like everything is in an uproar, and you know, we really just sort of want to come down and get back to what's good, and get back to rebuilding, and get back to creating, and get back to the lives that we really want to have, right? And it's been such a mess that we sort of just kind of need a day, and Wednesday might be that day to do that. I know that a lot of people really like numerology, so Wednesday might be a good day for you to do some kind of ritual where you are bringing in your abundance, where you are creating abundance from you know, a deeper spiritual place for yourself. And I mean, it's going to be a very balanced 11/11/2020 Libra moon kind of day. So Wednesday is going to be really good. So then we get to the 12th, which is Thursday. And the 12th, there's a lot of stuff going on. On the 12th, there's a lot of stuff, like every single time, the 12th and the 13th, like every single time I wanted to shift to another day, I saw another transit that I needed to talk about. So we have the Libra moon conjuncting Venus. It's going to be opposing Mars. And the moon is going to be squaring the conjunction with Jupiter and Pluto. So the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction will be exact. This is on the 12th. And I got something when I was sort of like, how do I really explain this in a good way? Sometimes I like to look at other astrology websites to see how they explained it. And this is what I really enjoyed, how astrologyking.com described the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So I'm going to read a little bit, like a little insert about that. So the result of this transit depends on your goals. It's important for you to think about what you want to do during this prosperous phase of life. Consider your spiritual growth. Prosperity for good of all can bring great luck and abundance, and have it repaid back to you in the future. This is a transit to really push focusing on what you want your success to look like. This is a time, but when we focus on what we want our success to look like, what happens? Things start to shift, things start to change. When we move our energy in a direction that we want it to go, instead of being stuck where we are currently, sometimes we transition and people have to be removed, or situations have to be removed, or jobs have to be removed so that we make room for other things. So the way that you're going to look at this transit is really up to each of you individually and how you feel about the way that you want to move forward in the future. And again, like I said, on the memberships, I'm going to be doing a house by house reading on what Jupiter conjunct Pluto means directly for you. So if you want a little bit more, that'll be published tomorrow on Monday. So if you want a little bit more insight on what this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to do for you personally, that's probably a really good thing for you to consider. But this is a phase in our life where we can all make a choice to be more abundant and to prosper more. Now, if you decide that you make decisions based on self-righteousness, based on your own selfishness, based on what it is that you want, and it's not about the collective good, and it's not about changing the structures that we've been in for centuries, and it's not creating like a common goal for all, then you might find some resistance down the road. Like you might have short-term prosperity and abundance, but it's not something that's built on a stable foundation. And then the tower comes along, right? So what's not built on a stable foundation that brings the tower. And this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction wants everybody to succeed, and it wants everybody to prosper. And we've had this conjunction 2 other times this year. We had this conjunction on April 5th and June 30th. And every single time, and if you look at those time frames, you can see like when the lockdown happened, right before the April 5th one, the lockdown in the United States happened the last week in March. And then we had like a surge when Mars went retrograde in Aries, and we had this surge, or Mars moved into Aries, and we had the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and it surged all of the virus. And so there, and with that came, or it surged the numbers of the virus kind of thing. But with that came a need in the change of structure, the way that we've been doing things. And so this is going to bring a lot of positives, but a lot of times we have to go through the negative aspects as well and see that there are things that have to be removed so that we can change and move forward. We're like making room. We're making room for abundance. We're making room for prosperity. Excuse me. So we also have the moon squaring the conjunction. And so the emotional trigger between that Libra moon squaring that conjunction sort of like pushes everything over the edge, and really making you see that in a particularly intimate way for yourself. That's the word I want to use, because this change and transformation needs to resonate deep within your own psyche, within your own self, before it resonates. Because if we're not good within ourselves, if we haven't changed, if we are not building ourselves on a stable foundation, then what good are we to the world anyways? You see what I'm saying? So it all really starts at home. And so creating a space for yourself to see that success, but also knowing that we need to make room for the universe to bring the success in as well. And as long as we're making the changes for the good, an integrity change, then there will be also long-term results that come from it. Okay, so Friday happens to be Friday the 13th. Welcome to 2020. So Mars goes direct on Friday the 13th at 7:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight, well, it's not daylight time anymore, but Eastern Standard Time. The moon also shifts into Scorpio, so that'll be fun. But it's going to the moon will square with Saturn in Libra first, and then it'll shift over to Scorpio, where it's going to oppose Uranus. And Venus is also squaring the nodes. So this could really be, and that's not even all that's happening as well. There's more that's happening that day too, because we also have the sun in Scorpio sextiling Pluto. So there's, especially with Venus squaring off with the nodes on Friday, and we have Mars going direct, and we have the moon in Scorpio, and it's coming up on the new moon in Scorpio that happens late Saturday night, for some of us early Sunday morning. But having that all of that stuff happen all at the same time, it's like the feminine is rising, but the masculine is really trying, like when Mars goes direct, there's this huge release of frustration and tension. And, Mars has been retrograde for 6 weeks. And we talk about, how when Mars is retrograde, we tend to hold on to the things that we don't want to really open up about, right? We're a little bit more conservative about our emotions. We're a little bit more, we're not so aggressive. We're not so assertive. We don't really put ourselves out there. But that also means that we hold a lot of things inside when it's not necessarily right to hold them inside. Like transparency, I always believe that transparency is the best, right? But a Mars retrograde will make people not be so transparent. And then Mars goes direct, and it's like this flood, this wave that's, like I am not driving anywhere on Friday the 13th. When Mars goes direct, I will be safe and cozy in my sweet little house. Like I'm not going anywhere, especially because the moon's going to be in Scorpio, and everybody's a little bit more emotional with the moon in Scorpio. And it's going to be a new moon with the sun sextiling Pluto. And so there's this huge need and push forward to regenerate, to really allow ourselves to see what changes need to happen in our lives so that we can have abundance, so that we can prosper, so that we can push forward, so that we can have all of our desires and manifest all of the things that we want to manifest. Now, with that Mars going direct, there might be some anger, some aggression, some frustrations that sort of just spill right on out of you, and that it's all natural, it's all normal for things like that to happen. But just make sure that you're not projecting your fears or projecting the things that, like a lot of people could even start projecting their own ideas and their own it's like making me think of maybe even like a cult leader, the way that they project ideas onto other people, like this kind of energy. As I sit here and I'm like, I am telling you guys to resonate with it the way that you want to resonate with it. You don't have to be a certain way at all. But it will make us all a little extra emotional. Friday may be a really kind of emotional, unbalanced sort of day. there's this emotional charge that wants to be expressed, right? So we have the moon opposite Uranus. It's going to be conjuncting Mercury, which is now also in Scorpio as well. So just having that emotional charge and knowing that we need to change and transform and regenerate ourselves and push ourselves forward in new directions. It's going to be a really interesting day. I'm going to be interested to see what Friday brings for everybody for sure. So then we get to Saturday the 14th. I told you there's a lot of stuff happening this week. So we have the new moon in Scorpio, and it's actually going to be happening at 12:08 a.m. Eastern on the 15th. So Sunday morning at 12:08 a.m. Eastern. Some people still aren't asleep at that time. But for the rest of the United States, it will be the evening or the night of 11:14. The sun and moon will be sextile Jupiter at the same time. There's going to be a lot of abundant energy for change and pushing us forward. This whole week is about transitioning. This whole week is about being, allowing yourself to plan for abundance and plan for prosperity. There will be things that happen that will trigger you, and there will be pushback. You'll probably see a lot of pushback because there are going to be a lot of power plays that are going on. We'll probably see I don't really do large scale collective or worldly predictions or anything like that. But I guarantee you we're going to see a lot of transitioning, already stuff is wanting, I know that Biden and Harris already want to start to transition into figuring out what to do with the virus. And they're already sort of making a plan. I guarantee you the power play that's happening with Trump and getting him out of the White House or preparing him to leave the White House, there will be a lot of grudge matches that happen because of that, because of the wounded triggering that he's going to be receiving through all of this. And do I think that either one is better than the other? No, I think that it's all happening for a reason. I think that we all are sort of watching everything unfold and watching how even though the shift in power is happening already, the structures are going to have to change to allow the people to have more of a voice with this shift. There's not much that we can do after we vote. We sort of just have to sit back and watch things happen after the vote's done, and after we choose the next person. So I think that because that's sort of the drama, I also have a feeling that there are going to be some more things that come out about a vaccine. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get into sensitive topics or anything like that, but I think that this Jupiter and Pluto conjunction, because cases are surging again, or the number of cases are surging again, I think that my prediction is that there's something, we're at a point where people are saying something needs to change. And this is sort of that tipping point. This week is sort of that tipping point. So with that new moon, we're feeling really determined to push ourselves to succeed, right? With the sun sextiling Pluto, and then we have the sun and moon sextiling Jupiter, we're feeling a determination to succeed. And this is a really good time for you to, I was saying that with the moon phases, to probably not manifest things for the rest of the year, but this one might not be so bad to manifest in, or at least to just set some intentions, maybe not manifest a whole relationship, but set the intention to work on yourself, to prepare yourself for a new relationship kind of thing. It's like manifesting without actually manifesting, but really setting the intention is actually manifesting. I know it's a riddle. It's all a big riddle, really. None of it's real. But growth can be really materialized. Growth can be really materialized during this time. And if it's not materialized in a physical way, it can be materialized in your mind and then sort of presented to everybody in a physical way, in a material way, a physical way down the road a little bit. This could be a very big spiritual awakening for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to be going through some pretty hefty emotions this week, good and bad. It's going to be sort of a roller coaster. And it depends on where you are in your life. It depends on how you're allowing the growth to happen and how you are resonating with all of the other prospects and the way that you can create your abundance from what you already have that exists now, and not be like, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, but really embodying what you have now and creating your prosperity and your abundance from what you have now. And that's what Jupiter conjunct Pluto wants you to have, you know, is like, be really, really grateful for what you have now and be prepared to shift at any moment in time, because it is 2020 and we are like constantly shifting and constantly moving and constantly right? So this is a really big week. It's got a lot of energies attached to it. I am not going to do cards this week because that was a lot of information, and I think adding information on top of that is just confusing. So I hope you guys have a really, really wonderful week. Come join me in this Manifesting 101 class, because this, first of all, this week is going to be perfect prime time to start creating some new abundance for yourself in the future. And if you're struggling on trying to figure out how to do that, or what manifestation looks like, or you know, you don't need a moon cycle to manifest things. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this class, because you know, for the last 3 years, I have been on a journey, and I've really had to learn how to continuously manifest my life from the present moment and to not have expectations. I have really had to learn that, and now I'm so ready to share all of it with you. I manifested the house that I'm in right now down to the details, down to the red door that's on the front, you know, the front door that's red, down to the adorable kitchen that I like, everything. Like, I manifested this house. It's perfect. And it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it came during a really, really heavy time for me. So, and it was just because I put my intention out there and I wanted to set it. And so I want to teach you guys how to do that too. And we'll talk through a lot of things, and how to manifest relationships, and how to manifest jobs, and how to manifest homes, and really just how to learn how to embody the life that you desire. It's going to be fun. So I hope to see you guys there. Limited space. There's only like, I think there's like 25 spaces left. I wanted to keep it kind of small because I want to make sure that we can communicate. I might do another one before Christmas. I'm not sure yet. Sort of depends on how popular this one is and if people resonate with it pretty well. So this might be the only chance this year to take this workshop until next year. And by next year, I'm going to be learning so much more. So it might be Manifesting 102. Who knows? But I love you guys, and I hope you have a really wonderful week. And man, things have been really, really heavy. So make sure that you're being kind to yourself. Make sure you're being kind to other people. Don't take life so seriously. This is a journey that we all chose to be on together. And so let's act like it. Let's act like we chose to be on this journey together and enjoy it a little bit. I love you guys. Have a good week. Bye.